This reset is probably the most complicated, nuanced, and difficult chapter in this book. At least it was for me. It was difficult to write this chapter, and it was difficult to test the exercises in this chapter. But I'm actually feeling a little bit of excitement about going through this chapter again in the final iteration of my book. The word relationship can mean different things to different people. When I say that word, something probably comes to mind for you, one type of relationship. In the context of this book, we're going to think about the word relationship in the broadest sense possible. So this can encompass any type of relationship that you have in your life, but these are typically one-to-one relationships. So this can be a romantic relationship like the one you have with your spouse or partner. It can be a platonic relationship like the one you have with your friend. It can be a relationship that you have with your parent or your grandparent, your sibling, your aunt, your uncle, your nibbling. Any type of relationship out there qualifies. So this can even be a coworker or a neighbor or an acquaintance. I would recommend starting this chapter with that broad definition in mind, but the reason we talk about one-on-one relationships is because when we get to a group of relationships, say a family unit or an entire workplace, that sort of thing, we're moving more into the topic of community, which is a later chapter in this book. So for this chapter, we can be broad in our definition of relationships, but let's think about one-to-one relationships, you plus someone else. Because one person has so many different one-to-one relationships, when we look at all of the different types of relationships out there, this chapter can feel a little bit confusing if we keep our definition too broad as we move through the exercises. So what I would recommend is going into the chapter with this broad definition in mind. And as you go through the arrive section, you'll start to notice that some specific relationships come up more than others. This can manifest in a couple of ways. The first is that it's bubbling to the surface. So you think about this type of relationship or this specific relationship all the time. For example, what is top of mind for me right now as I'm moving into the relationships chapter is friendship. I'm really interested in friendship right now, and I have been for a little while now, just how to connect better with my friends, how I can show up more authentically in a friendship, and as well, when conflict arises, how to have a difficult, uncomfortable conversation with a friend. So these are all things that I've been thinking about right now, and they are very surface level. I'm very much thinking about these things top of mind. The other way that a type of relationship or a specific relationship can manifest is actually quite the opposite. It's a little bit more hidden, but you know deep at your core that this is something that you want to explore. So you may not know this right now, but it might come up for you as you're working through the arrive section. And of course, these relationships are probably a little bit more complicated and nuanced, even a bit more painful to start to navigate through. As I'm recording this video, I'm not sure what type of relationship will come up for me because it's not surface level, it's not top of mind. It might still be buried deep, but an example of this might be my relationship with my birth mom, which I've explored in some detail as I've gone through the exercises in this book and as I was writing this book, but I'm sure there are still things there that I could work through. I'm not saying that this is the direction I'm going to go in. This is just an example of a specific relationship that's a little bit deeper, that might be more difficult to work through. Now you can choose. You don't have to force yourself to go deep because meaning can actually come from the surface level relationships as well. My relationship with my husband is always top of mind, and that is a relationship that brings me a lot of meaning in my life. So that's not a deep hidden relationship, but there's still a lot of value in me going through that type of relationship. So I don't know where this chapter is going to take me, but that's kind of the whole point. So this is a different type of reset. This is an Authenblissity reset where you tune in to your inner compass in 12 areas of life, and no one can prescribe for you how your journey is going to go. It is something that you will discover on your own, and everyone will have a different experience. months. The goal is that this will help you build confidence and you'll have more clarity when making bigger decisions in your life. For the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about what you can expect if you join me in this relationships reset. If you've been following along with this book, you already know the structure, but let's go through it in some detail. The first section is Arrive. I share a personal story and there are 3 exercises that follow. The personal story is intended to give you something to react to, so you react to the personal story as you read it or as you listen to it, and some things will start coming up for you and hopefully you'll start thinking about some of the relationships in your life. If you're not interested in doing this part, reading the personal story and reacting to it, you can start at the second exercise, which is word cloud. Next, we move into the second section, which is observe. The journaling exercise for this section is to observe your interactions with the people around you for an entire week. There are a series of questions that you can ask yourself at the end of each day, and these kind of serve as journaling prompts. At the end of the week, you'll move on to the patterns exercise, and this contains a series of sentence stems to help you draw out some of the themes from your week of self-observation. The explore section is where you pick 2 or 3 exercises to complete out of 10 exercises that are offered, and I really love this section because I find it a lot of fun. Each exercise contains a 1-sentence description, so you can read those and see what sparks your curiosity when choosing the exercises to complete. The 4th section is the connect section, and I've talked about this being the most difficult section in this book. I have a lot of hard realizations when I go through this section. So depending on your readiness or your willingness, you may want to skip exercises, and that is totally okay. Remember to go at a pace that works for you, and also at a depth that works for you. Finally, we've come to the last section of this chapter, and it is reflect. There are 3 exercises in this section. I really enjoy this section because it helps me pull together all of the little nuggets that I learned about myself throughout the chapter. That is it for my intro video to my relationships reset. If you'd like to join me on this reset and you don't have the book already, I will leave the link down below. If you can't afford the book but you'd still like to join in, I have a pay what you can option on my website for the PDF version of this book, and you can access that using the same link. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll be back in a month's time with how I did with this relationships reset. Until my next video, please take care and bye for now.